Hi everyone, hope you're all well. Nathan Carr here reporting for Reggae Boyz commentary. Simon has asked me to produce a recap video looking back at 2017 as a whole for the Reggae Boyz and previewing 2018, the kind of things in store. I think it's fair to say that it's been a relatively busy year for the Reggae Boyz all in all, starting off with that trio of friendlies, the USA, Honduras and Peru, then the Caribbean Cup in Martinique, the Gold Cup in the United States, what a tournament that was, and then most recently those friendlies against Trinidad and Tobago, Canada and Saudi Arabia. 14 matches altogether this year, all under the stewardship of Theodore Tapper Whitmore, who was of course installed as Jamaica head coach in October 2016 after the sacking of Winfried Schaefer. I think it's fair to say that Jamaican football, after that dismal 2018 World Cup qualifying run, where they picked up just 4 points from those 6 games in the fourth round, I think it's fair to say that Jamaican football went into a bit of a rebuilding mode. Obviously Theodore Whitmore replenished the squad, brought in some new players with not too many caps to their name, and the squad that played in the Caribbean Cup and the Gold Cup made up entirely of Jamaican-born players. We didn't see any of the UK-born or European-based players feature really, and I think if you look at the tournaments this year, I think the players can be proud of how they performed. Of course, the Caribbean Cup was a disappointment. They're heading into that tournament as defending champions. I think many expected them to win it. Of course, Curacao won their maiden title, but the way that they performed at the Gold Cup, was fantastic, reaching back-to-back finals. It was a really memorable tournament for them, and you've got to give credit to the players, but also Whitmore and the coaching staff for how strong they were tactically. And it is important to note that Jamaica, it wasn't free-flowing, attractive football at the Gold Cup. Far from it. It was a tournament that will be remembered for defensive stability, and being ruthless with their chances. And they really were fantastic, throughout the Gold Cup to hold Mexico in the group stages, of course, beat Curacao in their first game, avenging that defeat in the Caribbean Cup final, drawing to El Salvador, beating Canada, beating Mexico with that amazing Kemar Lawrence free kick, and then, I thought they were quite unfortunate in the final against the United States. Andre Blake, who won the Golden Glove Award, had to go off injured in the first half, and, I think that certainly didn't help. But overall, I thought that was a really, really good tournament for Jamaica, and it was a real boost for them after the disappointment at the Caribbean Cup. So what needs to happen then for 2018? What kind of things are in store? Well, first of all, I think that the Jamaican Football Federation need to look at organising as many friendlies as possible between now and September 2018, when the CONCACAF League of Nations, the new tournament by CONCACAF, then that starts. There'll be 3 divisions. Rumoured that there'll be 3 divisions. Jamaica are very likely to play in Division 1. They need to organise as many friendlies as possible. March is the next official FIFA match date, where clubs are obliged to release their players. But if Jamaica can organise, say 2 friendlies for March, and then maybe 1 or 2 outside of that with just locally based players, in January, February or April, or even May, leading up to that, then that's so important. And Warren Barrett, the goalkeeping coach, has said it. Kemar Lawrence has said it. Damien Lowe has said it. Even Michael Ricketts, the JFF president, has said that organising friendlies and being prepared is so important. And Michael Ricketts has also said that Jamaica need to make the office a fortress again, because let's not forget that between 1995 and 2001, Jamaica did go unbeaten for over 50 games at Independence Park. A stat that Simon, has said before on Reggae Boyz commentary, and it is a fantastic achievement, and Jamaica need to make the office a formidable place again. And you think of some of the friendlies that they've played, over the last few years or so: Canada, the USA, Peru, Chile, that famous win, Venezuela, Japan, Egypt, France, Serbia. They're just a few examples from the last few years. So it is important that they try and play as many diverse nations as possible between now and September. And of course, throughout 2018, where there'll be match dates in October and November, and then World Cup qualifying is expected to start in 2019 for Qatar 2022, and of course we'll have the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2019 as well. Squad, in terms of the squad situation, personally, I think now you have to put an emphasis on the younger players, and the likes of Wes Morgan and Clayton Donaldson and Joby McAnuff, Lee Williamson. I think they have to be out of the frame now, and we saw at the Gold Cup, Whitmore brought in a number of younger players at the start of qualifying for the Caribbean Cup as well, and they've done very, very well. And I think Jamaica now have a really good blend of homegrown talent, players playing overseas in both Europe and the Americas. And I've actually written down my starting lineup that I'd like to see Jamaica play throughout 2018, and it's Andre Blake in goal, undisputed number one. A back four of Alves Powell, Damian Lowe, Michael Hector, and Kemar Lawrence. A midfield of Gareth McCleary on the right. Leon Bailey, should he don the Reggae Boyz jersey, on the left. Obviously, there is a impasse at the moment between the JFF and Leon Bailey's agent Craig Butler. It remains to be seen if that will be resolved. But if Leon Bailey does play for Jamaica, then it'll be really great to see him out on the left wing. Been doing so well with Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. And then I've put Kevon Lambert in central midfield, who obviously earned a move to the USL with Phoenix Rising on the back of his performances in the Gold Cup. He was a breakout player. Very impressed with him at the base of midfield. And then I think, Javon Watson is north of 30 now. He obviously played alongside Lambert in midfield, but I would actually look towards the UB40, the UK diaspora, for a more attack-minded midfield player to accompany Kevon Lambert. There are two that I've got in mind. Obviously, Simon did a video on Ravel Morrison, who's now playing in Mexico, whether he would ever play for Jamaica. He has Jamaican ancestry. Ravel Morrison to come in, or Kemar Roof is a player that I like for Leeds United, formerly on the books of West Bromwich Albion, moved to Leeds United. He's been doing very well there over the last few seasons. Kemar Roof, of Jamaican ancestry. One of those I think could come in and do a really good job in midfield. Of course, there is Michael Binns, Omar Holmes, Alex Marshall, who can play in the centre. Wayne Gordon and Junior Fleming's out wide, as well as other options. Simon Dawkins, Lance Lang, who's just moved to SC Cincinnati. But I think a midfield of McCleary, Lambert, one of Roof or Morrison and Bailey would be very good indeed, and a striking partnership of Williams and Romario Williams and Darren Mattox. I think that is a very strong team, and I actually think that starting lineup can seriously compete in CONCACAF. And I spoke recently with Damian Lowe, and he was saying that he sees Jamaica now as an elite power within CONCACAF. Of course, you've got the United States, despite not making the World Cup for 2018. You've got Mexico and Costa Rica, and Jamaica now have made back-to-back Gold Cup finals. They should be considered a genuine threat within CONCACAF, and part of the elite, and that's what Damian Lowe was saying. And I think with that starting lineup, that's a very strong team. It's got a nice mixture of experience and youthful exuberance, and I think there is reason to be optimistic heading into 2018. I'm very excited to see which division Jamaica are going to be in for the CONCACAF League of Nations, the type of friendlies that they're able to secure, and whether there'll be any new additions to the squad. But as I say, I think overall this year it's been a positive one. The Caribbean Cup was a disappointment, but the Gold Cup was a fantastic tournament. The likes of Andre Blake, Kemar Lawrence, Darren Mattocks, Romario Williams, all great performances. Damien Lowe and Kevin Lambert, Wayne Gordon, the list goes on. I think there is reason to be optimistic heading into next year. And I for one, I'm very excited to see how Jamaica do. Another thing as well, just to round off, is if the Reggae Boyz can make the top 50 within the FIFA World Rankings. They're currently ranked at number 54. The last time they were within the top 50 was in 2005 when they were ranked at 42 at the end of 2005. They have got it within them, and that would be really, really great if they could make the top 50. They're just outside at the moment, because that would mean that it will be easier for Jamaican players to move to British football and move to the Premier League or Championship in England. A number of clubs have obviously been after Kemar Lawrence, Andre Blake and Darren Mattocks. They haven't been able to move to England because of Jamaica being outside the top 50. And I definitely think that the potential is there for them to break into that top 50 again. So overall, I think, making sure they play enough friendlies, that they're prepared, and there's enough training camps for the players to get together and make sure they're on the same wavelength before going into major tournaments. To make sure that they can try and get into the top 50. I'm positive about Jamaican football heading into 2018. Thank you for listening, and remember to subscribe to Reggae Boyz commentary for the latest news and views on Jamaican football by Simon Preston and his team.